Hi there, welcome to this video. We're going to be doing Punnett squares with dihybrid and incomplete dominance genetics problems. So, what is a Punnett square and why do you or I care? A Punnett square is basically a diagram that to me looks a lot like a cross multiplication problem or a multiplication table, and is used to predict the genetic outcome of a test cross. Which means if you were to breed two plants, say one has pink flowers and one has red flowers, and you wanted some with blue flowers or something crazy, you could start to figure out how to do that all by yourself by using Punnett squares. That's why you care. And in biology classes, you're going to use this during your genetics units, and it's just useful knowledge to know if you're interested. And you're probably watching this video because you have schoolwork related to it. In order to do dihybrid and incomplete dominance problems, you're going to need to know how to do monohybrid. There's lots of videos about that already, and it's basically the same thing, just this is a little more complicated. Before you start, if you don't know what any of these terms mean on this list, I would pause the video and go look them up really quick. Nothing too crazy here. The most important ones I think are homozygous and heterozygous, as well as, understanding a dominant and recessive allele. So we're starting with number 3, just to confuse you. Brown fur in bunnies is dominant and white is recessive. The allele for short fur is dominant and long fur is recessive. You mate a brown short-hair rabbit with a white long-hair rabbit. What are the phenotypes and genotypes of the F1 generation? I started out with bunnies and I ended up with rabbits, but just pretend it's only bunnies. So the first thing you're going to do always is write out the genotypes that you know about the parents, right? So we know that Big B is brown and it's dominant. We know that little b is going to mean white and it's recessive. We know that short hair is dominant and long hair is recessive. We're going to mate a brown short hair rabbit, which is going to be a big B something, a big S something, with a white long hair rabbit. So we know for sure those genotypes. What are the phenotypes and genotypes of the F1 generation? So just to simplify things, let's fill in those, making this a true breeding brown bunny with short hair. Just because the problem doesn't explicitly say it, I got this out of my textbook. Usually if they don't say it and it's dominant, it's going to be like this. I probably just wrote it down wrong. So to set up the Punnett square with a monohybrid, you would kind of be looking at it with just like 2 B's or 2 S's. It's going to be the same thing. I like to think about this like we want to end up with an individual with 4 letters to their genotype, which means that we're going to multiply 2 letters by 2 letters. So the possible combinations, you're going to have to look at it like this. This allele codes for color and this allele codes for coat length. We're going to split them up like that. The possible combinations for this rabbit or bunny is going to be little b, little s, simply because those are the only 2 letters it has. So we're going to write that just like that. Now for this one, it's going to be the same thing, except all we have is a big B, big S. If one of them, say this one were a big B little b, big S, little s. What this would look like instead in this column is big B, little b, big B, big S, big B, little s, little b, big S, and little b, little s. And that's because these are all the possible combinations of alleles that this rabbit can give its offspring. But right now we're keeping it pretty simple. So we wanted to end up with 4 letters, and it looks like we're going to, because these are combined and these are combined. So we're going to end up with big B, little b, big S, big S. Just kidding. One of those is a little s. There we go. Okay, so what are the genotypes and phenotypes of the F1 generation? This is our F1 generation, right? Because that's our first generation that we have. So the genotypes, we only have one answer because we only had one possible combination from each parent. So it's going to be big B, little b, big S, little s, and we're always writing the dominant allele first. And now phenotypes. Since they both have a dominant allele in here, it's going to be a brown, short-haired bunny. Alright, moving on to the next one, let's see. Alright, for incomplete dominance, we're going to be using dragons just because I was scared if I copied everything straight out of the textbook, I'd get sued or something. So for dragons, wing color shows incomplete dominance. If the blue and the red alleles are combined, they make purple wings. What would the phenotypic and genotypic ratios be for the offspring of 2 purple-winged dragons? Okay, so writing out our givens as usual, we have B stands for blue, R stands for red, right? And purple is going to be a B and an R. And to me, that always confused me at first. I'd be like, wait, these have 1 letter, this one has 2. But that's telling us that you need 2 B's for it to be blue, and you need 2 R's for it to be red, because if there was an R here, you'd have a B and an R, and it would be purple. Does that make sense? This is how incomplete dominance works. Instead of a BR having one of these be a dominant, it's going to be both of them expressed as a mixed color of blue and red being purple. And it's not always mixed. It could be pink and white made blue. It doesn't have to be those 2 colors mixed. I just thought it made more sense for this problem if I made it that way. So we have a 2 purple winged dragons. So that's telling us that they both have a BR plus a BR, right? Because to be purple, there's only one way to do that. So I'm just going to set up that Punnett square. I should have given myself a little more space between these. They're not connected like they were in the last problem. So we're going to end up with a B and a B, and a B and an R, another one of those, and an R and an R. So the phenotypic ratio, you probably know already, that's going to be the physical expression. We're actually going to do that second because that's just easier. The genotypic ratio is just saying what are the genotypes of the 4 offspring that we've predicted in this Punnett square. So the genotypic ratio, I'll just write a GR for time's sake, is going to be, we have 2 purple dragons, so 2 BR, because that's the genotype, for every 1 RR and every 1 BB. Now the phenotypic ratio, as we were saying before, is the physical expression of those alleles, and in this case a BR means purple, so we can just pretty much copy down this, but in people words, not biologist words, to purple for every 1 red and every 1 blue. And under each of these you should write wings, just to be clear. Okay, so that is how you do this incomplete dominance and dihybrid practice. If you actually watch this video and you have a question about it, definitely comment it and I'll respond. I have 1 subscriber. So, yeah. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this helped a ton.